I always wanted to be a pilot. I always kind of felt that that was what I wanted to do, and it wasn't until I was 15 that the local flying school came around to our school and they did a bit of an information session, and I got really enthused. That weekend I went and did a trial introductory flight. I loved it so much that I just kept going, really, never really stopped.
When I was a kid, I lived in the western suburbs of Sydney, and the flight path for all the light aircraft flying over my house to Bankstown Airport kept me mesmerised, and looking up and determining which aircraft was which and where they were going, where they were headed, and I guess it just stuck with me.
I started my aviation training when I was 15. I was still at school at the time. I couldn't even drive a car. So my parents had to take me to the airport, and I started my flying lessons and my theory training I did after school in the afternoons, and studied for my exams then, and did my flying lessons as often as I could.
When I was a kid, I was in the Air Cadets at high school, and back in those days, I'm not sure if it continues, but back in those days they had a scholarship system which paid for your private pilot's license, and I was fortunate enough to win a scholarship, and I started my flying that way. I retired. It was more or less a forced retirement. I was working for a company that was owned by Qantas, and one day we got the word that we'd been outsourced to someone that would do the operation a little bit cheaper.
So as I progressed in my flying lessons, I started to see it more and more as a valid career path, and that was when I made the decision to pursue the professional qualifications and go for it as a career option. I got my first job after my flying training. I was a parachute pilot. I used to drop skydivers on the weekend. I also used to do fire spotting in New South Wales, where we'd take the plane up and search for fires in fire zones, and then they'd radio back that information to the ground, and they'd send ground crews in to be able to put them out. So I had to work a series of jobs in order to build my hours. I did work as an instructor just before becoming a pilot, but a lot of it was really good timing and a little bit of luck on my side.
I guess a lot of young kids that come through the system these days set themselves up so that once they get their career started in an airline as a first officer, as a junior, that's what they do for the rest of their lives, so they can spend 30 years flying as a pilot in the airlines.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Keep it straight.
If you wish to pursue a career as a pilot, you have to be determined. There's a lot of setbacks along the way that you need to overcome.
I thought it was an opportunity there to get ahead over in Europe, and I did spend some money getting my qualifications over there, and wound up back here because I didn't find a job. I found the process very expensive for little reward. I found when I was over there, and I was competing with people that were in some respects willing to pay for a job, and I couldn't do that. So I luckily wound up back in Australia, and everything's worked out really well for me. So that was a setback for me because I did invest a lot of time and money into that one. I did sit and pass 14 exams in order to get my qualification over there, and ultimately didn't use it.
The study never finishes. You're studying your initial exams, you're studying for your private pilot's license, for your commercial pilot's license, then your instrument rating. When you get a job with an airline, eventually it's a matter of doing a type course on that aircraft, which involves theory and practical tests and exams, and then on a regular basis being rechecked and rechecked again, and then perhaps moving on to another type and starting the whole process again.
Before I met Andrew, I had no idea about anything to do with aviation. To be perfectly honest, I still don't know too much about aviation. I try to learn stuff from Andrew. He's very modest though, and he doesn't talk too much about the ins and outs of work. When we started dating, when he was on overnights, I would often watch Air Crash Investigation, but it would only it would never go down too well, and it would always end up with me calling Andrew and it just going through the message bank because he's obviously still flying and me freaking out.
Hayley's been a fantastic support, absolutely. She supports me in all sorts of ways and does it without even realising, I think.
I guess the only place to go next is completely different direction and lifestyle to what we're used to. So something like international long-haul flying or other domestic flying where he would be away for a long time, and that's always in the back of my mind that where he currently is in our current situation may not satisfy him forever, that it may have an expiry date.
Now that I'm getting married and starting a family, I see myself taking a more cautious approach to my career. So I see myself taking less risks in terms of moving on. In order to get a promotion, I would be more inclined to stay where I am if it's more stable, and I like to provide that stability as I feel that's more important at the moment. That's the best thing I can do by myself and my partner. My one piece of advice to anyone chasing their dream is it's 99.9% attitude. With anything you have to apply yourself, and you have to be able to cope with failure as well. If you do stumble along the way, you do need to be able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and then keep going rather than give up. Because a lot of people tend to think that you get to your goal and it's all smooth sailing from there, when it's actually not. You do need to work hard in order to stay there as well, because there's a lot of people on your heels that want what you have too.
So cheer up, my brothers, live in the sunshine, we'll understand this all by and by. Tempted and tried, I wonder why the good man dies, bad man thrives, and Jesus cries 'cause he loves them both. We're all castaways in the